Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Georgina Ratfield, and I'm one of the Education and Media Technicians here at CaseWare UK. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Jack Holloway, one of the Education and Media Consultants. And during today's webinar, we're going to be looking at what's included in the new Charity and Academy epCA4.05.02. So before I hand over to Jack, there are some housekeeping items we will just run through. So if you do have any questions at all, then please do type those into the Q&A field on Zoom, or alternatively, you can use the chat function as well. We will be sort of heading off questions during the webinar, and there'll also be a Q&A session at the end. So we are recording the webinar today, and we will be placing a recording on to the knowledge base. So we do actually have a poll for you this morning. So I'm going to launch that on your screen. So we're looking at doing a charity webinar series, and we just want to find out from you guys what you would like to see with regards to the webinars. So you can just pick one option from the list. Obviously, if there are multiple that you would like to see from this list, then you can just pop that into the Q&A or chat field, and I'll note that down. So like I say, we are looking at planning some webinars, sorry, and we just want to get some feedback from you guys. Perfect. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll end that now. I think I've allowed enough time, so I will end that. And then what we can do is we'll share those results sort of a bit later on towards the end. Perfect. So I shall hand over to yourself, Jack.
Brilliant. Thanks, Georgie. Yeah, hi guys. Thank you for coming along today. We'll just go through, as Georgie mentioned, the main updates that are coming due. Coming out with the latest EPAC for the charities. EPAC that's coming. Excuse me, swallow my tongue at the moment. So I'm just going to run through the main points that are coming out in the EPAC through these next couple of slides, and then I'm going to jump into CaseWare and have a look at playing with a couple of things, particularly the custom reports, because that's it's a very useful new feature that's come out in this EPAC. Okay. So first of all, the audit reports are being updated during if you've got periods commencing after the 15th of December 19. It will just be a small change in the other information that's come out. You guys will be familiar with this already if you've been doing any corporate sets of accounts. The same changes that have come out in EPACs for that previously are now going to come out in the charity ones. So it's just bringing that in line with what's already there. The next one that we can see there, we've got the mandatory tagging requirements are being relaxed slightly to recognise the minimum requirements. Now, what was happening before is obviously there was a lot more tagging going on behind the scenes than there needed to be. So what's happened here is that we've now mirrored the tagging requirements in line with HMRC's mandatory options. Okay, so that's all come out in this EPAC as well, and that will all be done for you. You haven't got to worry about any of that once you've taken the EPAC. Now, the next option is, the next point is the custom report option being added into the sets of accounts. Now, what is there is you can now add up to 5 custom reports, okay, into the financial statements, and you can do that quite easily using the accounts prep table, and I'll show you that in a minute, but that one's a really useful thing to do. So if you've got anything like a chairman's report or extra reports from trustees that need to go in there, maybe environmental report, lots of different things coming out now, you've got those custom report options that are available to be added inside the sets of accounts without you having to mess around too much behind the scenes. Okay, so it's a really useful feature that's come out in this EPAC. The other thing that I'm going to mention in the webinar later on, I'll drop it in at the end, like we always do when we have an EPAC update webinar, is that just make sure everyone's comfortable with how to install these EPACs, how to implement those into your files, when to take those updates. Okay, so we'll just run through that a little bit later on. Now, just a couple more things on this slide here to talk about that have also changed in this EBAC. The XBRL tag has changed for the net movement in funds when you're on the parent balance sheet. Okay, so that's just another thing that behind the scenes will change. You won't need to worry about that. On the statement of funds now, there's a tick box that's been added if you want to include the total column or not include the total column. Okay, just a feature request from you guys really that's come in to make ask, can we have this feature? So we have added that tick box in case people want to remove or add that. Okay, and the other thing on here that we want to talk about is so general information note can now be added from the accounts prep table. So rather than you having to go into the accounting policies and move it like that, you could do it straight from the accounts prep table. Okay, so just something to flag up for you all. So I'll jump in first of all, and I'll run through the custom reports because as I say, there's quite a big thing there that's come in to make sure we're changing there. You have to bear with me a moment while I do move things around on my screen. Nice and simple, hopefully. There we go. So hopefully, and Georgie, you ought just to confirm you can still see, you can see my screen, CaseWare going on.
We can see those things.
Perfect, thank you. So this is just our training set of data here, okay, today with the charity pack that we've got. The pack's been taken on this file, but we'll run through later on how to take those updates when we get to that. Now, what you'll find when you've taken the update is if I jump to the accounts prep table, okay, you've now got the options here, as you can see from rows 8 to 12 in there, whether you want the blank custom reports to be included in the sets of accounts. All right. Now, as I said, this might be for many different things. Maybe you've got a chairman's report, if the council's doing a report on the accounts. There's many different reasons, environmental, as I mentioned earlier, many different reasons why you'd have these extra reports in the accounts. But what you can do now is come in here and you can turn them on. Okay, so if I drop in here, okay, excuse me, if I click the drop down and turn it to yes, you can see that will just simply bring in that blank report into the accounts. Now for today, I'm going to turn on 2 just so you can see the difference and see what's going on in there. So I'll turn them on there. And if I jump back in to the view in the accounts, that CaseWare build them in, then what we can see is if I scroll down to underneath the audit report, okay, we've then got these extra reports that you can add in here. Okay, now these you can, under enable editing, if you go to enable editing mode, you can then change these however you like. Okay, you can insert images, you can insert Excel tables, Word objects, all sorts, exactly as you could before in any other reports. All right, so it's a really useful feature to have this in here. Now, what these sections at the top here are so that CaseWare can easily add the header within the accounts. So much like all of the other sections, if we jump to the audit report, you obviously get audit report appear in the header. Okay, down here, you can add the wording here to be included in the header there. So if I just type chairman's, okay, we can see that you have to excuse it's cut in this view, but when you go to print preview, it would be there. But chairman's report then appears in that header and will repeat as needed. Okay. Now, just as the small note to mention to you all, if when you insert documents on from Word, okay, so if you've got here inserted report from Word or PDF, if I untick that box, you can see the view changes because the header drops down. Okay, if you're having problems with the header appearing, you might need to just tick and untick that box to refresh CaseWare to make sure it's picking up the information from the right cell. Okay, and that can be done using that button there. All right, but just as a note, if you are having issues with that header appearing, that's where you just need to go and have a quick look. All right. Are there any questions at the minute, Georgie, that have come in on the reports before I move on?
Yeah, so we have had a question come in. So are the custom reports available in the AccountsAdvanced template?
So they're not currently, but they are looking at dropping them in. I know it's something that people have mentioned. So the reports are, they're not currently there, but they are on their way in the, is the information we've been given this end. So.
Okay, yeah, that's everything. Thank you so
Perfect.
far.
Thank you for that, guys. Okay, so what I'll do next, if I jump down to the statement of funds, and I'll run through just that tick box that's there. But that's obviously the big thing in this EPAC is these reports and making sure that they're all set up as needed. Okay. So if I just jump down to the statement of funds now, okay, and we've got print zero column. Okay, and that is the new feature that's there. Now, if it's applicable here, that will just simply turn on the total column. If you did have a zero column to appear in there, it would make sure the zero column still appeared. Okay, so that's all that is doing there. But just to show you, that's where that box has fallen in. All right. Now, the other thing I want to show you is if I jump up to the accounts prep table again, is just that you can turn on the general information policy from here. Excuse me, I've lost, there we are, sorry. So if I want to take this out now in the accounts, I can now do that from here, rather than having to go into accounting policies and then change the bits and pieces in there. Okay, so if I click view, good case for a moment again, and then if I jump down to the accounting policies again, as expected, that general information note is no longer there. Okay, so that's just another thing to be aware of. The iXperial tagging that we mentioned that's changed, you guys don't have to do anything. That will automatically update because it's removing those requirements, okay, and making sure that that's just in line with what's needed on HMRC's mandatory tagging. If you do obviously want to add stuff in, you could use the iXperial features that were there before to put stuff there, okay. The last thing I want to talk about just before I hand back to Georgie and we'll see if there's any questions, the update process for EPACs. So as always, as I said, when we do these webinars, we like to make sure everyone's up to date. The EPACs that come out will be sent to your IT teams if they manage CaseWare, or to the contact that we've got on file as the main contact. That's where the EPACs get sent. Okay. If you're on a standalone machine, you'll need to install those EPACs on each individual machine. Okay. If you're on a server, then your IT team will obviously manage that for you. Once the EPACs have been installed in whichever environment you're in, they won't automatically drop into your CaseWare files. Okay. And the reason for that is because what we wouldn't want to do is, let's say you've got a set of accounts almost to completion, almost ready to go out the door. You wouldn't want that set of accounts to radically change through an EPAC that's come in. So what we do is you'll see a pop-up from the knowledge base, or from a knowledge library update. The knowledge library update will pop up automatically when you open a new file where there's an EPAC that's relevant, and it will ask you, do you want to apply that EPAC to this file? Okay. Now, obviously, depending on how you answer that, will depend whether that EPAC is then implemented in that file. All right. For me, I would, if I've not sent a draft set of accounts out yet, I would take the EPACs. Okay. If you've sent the drafts out to clients or to the board or to the director, however you guys are working, I would probably hold fire on that EPAC until next year, just because you wouldn't want it to change things and that's more of a general rule on EPACs. You wouldn't want it to change things within the set of accounts that you're looking at. You want to make sure that that is it's still relevant, and you're not going to get any major changes that's going to catch anybody out. Okay. That's all I was going to run through today. So we'll hand over to Georgie now. If you guys have got any questions, then let us know. But thank you for coming on and listening.
Perfect. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, we have had a couple of questions come in actually. So
Perfect.
one being, how will this EPAC change my files that have already been started?
So the files that have already been started won't automatically update, as I was just saying. So I would only take the EPAC into those files if you do, if you haven't sent out any drafts yet to clients or your bosses or however that works. So only where you're not worried about changes it's going to make would I take the EPACs on those files, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. And secondly, we've got, what has changed in the audit reports? Is this compliant?
So yes, it's compliant. It will automatically do it for any periods that commence after the 15th of December 19, I think it is. I've got it. Yes, it's 15th of December 19. Yep. And the other information section is what's changed. There's been some wording changes in that audit report, but it just the purpose of this EPAC is that it brings the charities in line with what's already in the AccountsAdvanced templates for the corporate files.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. That was everything in the way of questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the results from the poll from the start. So we asked you, what charity webinars would you like to see us host within the next few months? So we've got funds worksheet, we've got 36%, we've got the Charity Academy mapping at 18%. With regards to the editing the reports, the trustees report, nobody sort of took that one up, but we will look to plan one of those in. So if you do decide to attend, then you can register for that over on the events page. And then editing notes and note builder. So for example, a grants analysis note at 45%. So perfect, thank you for providing that feedback to us. We have a couple of those webinars already in the pipeline that we're looking to plan currently. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled over on the events page and you will see those pop up and you'll be able to register for those. Perfect, so I'm going to stop sharing those results. For the purpose of anyone watching this recording on the knowledge base, you won't be able to see that poll on screen. That is just for live attendance, but I've read those out. So right, I'm going to stop sharing those. So for upcoming webinars that we do have scheduled, so we've got the Smart Engagement Key Features there on the 8th of July, and then we've got a Defined Benefit Pension Scheme on the 9th, and you can register for those over on the events page. Okay, so just a couple of other things to make you guys aware of. So we do also have a LinkedIn page and a YouTube channel. So if you're not already following our LinkedIn page, you can head over to that and our YouTube channel as well. If you just move on to the next slide for me, Jack, and that will provide, there we go. So our LinkedIn is Client Services CaseWare UK Limited, and then our YouTube channel is Client Services CaseWare UK Limited also. I appreciate that some places, some firms may have YouTube restricted. So if that's the case, then that's completely understandable. We appreciate that. And what we do is on our LinkedIn page, we just post sort of upcoming webinars that we've got and various other bits and pieces that CaseWare are up to as well. And then our knowledge base. So if you're not already registered for that, then you can head over there and get signed up. So like I say, you'll find the recording of today's webinar on there. And also we have various other items on our knowledge base. It's a very useful tool if you don't already have access. Perfect. Okay, so that concludes today's webinar then. So thank you very much for attending. And if you do have any questions at all, then there is a survey at the end. You can pop those into the field. If you can fill out the survey and provide us with feedback, we'd really appreciate it. But otherwise, keep your eyes peeled on the events page, and we'll pop the charity webinars up there as and when they're scheduled. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
See you later, guys. Thank you.